You're listening to Prophecy Talk with Erika Grey.
If ever a candidate could win the award as the most embarrassing and the scariest candidate, the award would go to Donald Trump. He is an embarrassment to the United States, and if he were to become president, its citizens should walk the walk of shame for putting the class act jerk in office, or more politely, as Google defines a jerk, a contemptibly obnoxious person. It is scary that Donald Trump has won more delegates than anyone would have anticipated and leads in the polls above the other Republican candidates who all are far more sensible and sane than him. This does not say too much for the mental state of the Americans at the moment who want to put him in office. Donald Trump is an embarrassment to the United States because of his immaturity and his acting like a 2-year-old towards anyone who criticizes him. As one writer put it, his absurd third-grade theatrics. Trump is so insecure that at the March 3 GOP debate on Fox, when there was a reference to his small hands, he actually inferred to the world that he had man-sized genitalia. And not only had he gone where no politician had gone before in his comment, but he revealed to the world his total insecurity and that emotionally he is a teenager. Combine his emotional state, his inability to receive criticism, his need to lash back at anyone who criticizes him, and his flip-flopping on issues, and the thought of him becoming president of the United States is frightening. According to the Financial Times, which ranks the #1 read among the most senior financial decision makers in the world's largest financial institutions and the leading news source for European Union, the Euro, and European corporate affairs, and read and quoted by EU politicians. President Obama, in an interview with the Financial Times, stated, "I read the Financial Times before other people read the Financial Times. Now it's trendy, and everybody carries around a Financial Times." Well, this is what the Financial Times had to say about Donald Trump. Gideon Rachman, the FT's chief foreign affairs columnist, stated in an interview what Trump would do as president, that Trump is completely out of order and that he projects himself as extremely aggressive. Even worse, he observed, "I partly believe that he believes nothing. He has been all over the place. In his past, he has been a liberal Democrat." What worries Rachman most is Trump's temperament and that he has been prepared to go where politicians shouldn't go. Rachman also noted that as a businessman, there are some quite bad stories out there referring to possible fraudulent business practices alleged in a lawsuit against Trump University. In another FT interview between Lionel Barber, the editor of the Financial Times, and Martin Wolf, the FT's chief economics commentator, titled "Donald Trump and the Future of the U.S., Martin Wolf stated that he sees Donald Trump as a threat to America. He affirmed, "I think it is incredibly worrying if he gets the nomination. He is entirely unsuited. He has fought a xenophobic campaign. He has applauded torture. He has argued that 11 million people should be rounded up and driven out of the country." Wolf stated that the American presidency, an extremely powerful office, a man like Trump with his lack of restraint and self-awareness could do anything. Martin Wolf called Trump a populist demagogue who lived off awakened fear, rage, and hatred. He likened him to both Mussolini and even to the extreme case Adolf Hitler, although he clarified, not suggesting he is a Hitler, not at all, but he's a right-wing populist demagogue. Martin Wolf of the Financial Times concluded by stating that if he were to become president of the most powerful and democratic nation in the world, that would be scary. Not only across the Atlantic is Trump being likened to Hitler and Mussolini, but even on Twitter in the Never Trump thread were references at Born to Forever stated it perfectly. I love always Trump because I was born too late to support Hitler and Mussolini while they were alive. Among all of the candidates, Donald Trump exhibits a perpetual frown that is ingrained in his expression. One has to wonder if that constant frown is not from years of being a miserable human being who, though he boasts of his great deal-making abilities and that he is a leader, is in fact a bully, and this was evidenced as we watched him bully Chris Christie onto a plane. Donald Trump isn't even creative in his insults. Due to his limited vocabulary, he always hurls the same derogatory comments that the person is a failure, their publication is a failure, their show doesn't get great ratings. Not to mention the accusation used by many emotionally dysfunctional individuals that everyone they deal with is a liar, when in fact they are the pathological liars. Donald Trump's immaturity, narcissism, and grandiosity has prompted such articles as "The Scottish Hate Donald Trump, America's Richie Rich," or "Dealing with a King Like Donald Trump, Narcissist in Chief," in which the writer commented, whom the word egomaniac is an understatement. Someone actually wrote what I observed in the article, Donald Trump exhibiting discernible clear signs of mental instability. In addition, he has been appropriately pinned as a megalomaniac, and one writer said he suffers from hypermegalomania narcissism. Despite his craziness, immaturity, obvious narcissism, and his perpetual frown, many have bought into his campaign. One man read Hitler quotes to Trump supporters that they agreed with, and when they learned the quotes were from Hitler, he asked if they were from Donald Trump, would they still support him? And one man said yes. Bernie Goldberg, Fox News' commentator, commented after the March 3rd GOP debate that Trump is a train going 1,000,000 miles an hour. Among Trump supporters, there is also the idea that a man like Trump, with his wealth, should know how to run the country. The comic commentator John Oliver presented a masterful piece on Trump titled John Oliver on Donald Trump. This was not just comedy, but an excellent journalistic piece showing the viewer all of Trump's failed businesses, even poking fun at Trump selling his steaks at, of all places, the Sharper Image. Tim Miller, Jeb Bush's former campaign manager, called Donald Trump a fraud. And on his website, www.trumpquestions.com, the first video, which highlights Trump's previous statements and positions, which are diametrically opposed to his current ones, leaves me believing that Gideon Rachman of the Financial Times was right. Trump believes nothing. Donald Trump believes in Donald Trump. Donald Trump loves Donald Trump. Ezra Klein of Vox wrote about Trump in The Rise of Donald Trump is a terrifying moment in American politics. And he is correct. It is a terrifying moment. Not only would a Donald Trump presidency be a nightmare for the United States, but he would also be a total embarrassment to U.S. citizens, especially because this is the man America picked as president. Today's Financial Times poked fun at Donald Trump, today's Financial Times poked fun at him with a comment by Jerry Springer on the debates and a piece titled, "No Insurance Policy Could Cover the Perils of a Trump Presidency." Having said all this, there is one area that I do believe Trump would be effective, and that would be the opening of a new door to U.S.-Russia relations, as I've always taken the view that it should be a path pursued in U.S. foreign policy, and I am not in agreement with U.S. think tanks and media on Vladimir Putin, but Donald Trump is such a loose cannon that he would destroy the U.S. in the process. Nothing, though, was more shocking than Jerry Falwell Jr. of Liberty University, the largest evangelical Christian school in the nation, endorsing Donald Trump. My first thought was, how much did Trump donate to the university to get the endorsement by Jerry Falwell Jr.? He is not the only evangelical. I happened to see a Bible Prophecy News website endorsing Trump. In a slight glimmer of hope, Never Trump was trending on Twitter. It has now become a movement, and one can pledge that they will never vote for Donald Trump. You may be wondering what any of this has to do with Bible prophecy. Those of us who teach end times Bible prophecy speculate that the U.S. will cease to be the leading world power and that the U.S. dollar will end being the world's reserve because it is not the leading empire in end times Bible prophecy. Its decline is a matter of deduction. While we know the decline is inevitable, we are not quite sure what leads it there. We're pretty sure the U.S. deficit is going to be a major factor. While I know the decline is inevitable, I would hate to see the decline caused because the voters put into position an immature, childish leader who is a total embarrassment to the U.S. population, who is grandiose, a megalomaniac, among other unpleasant adjectives, and who is frankly scary. No one understands how Donald Trump has such appeal and is ranking with these known facts. Paul Henry Spaak, former Belgian Prime Minister, first President of the EU Parliament, and first President of the UN General Assembly, once stated, "What we want is a man of sufficient stature to head the allegiance of all people and to lift us out of the economic morass in which we are sinking. Send us such a man, and be he God or the devil, we will receive him." I can only conclude by stating that the Trump rise can only be explained as another sign of the end times.